Hi folks, what you see in the vise is a rusty spinner. So I've got it on at an angle there so that you can see it better. There's it from the underneath side. So without further ado, let's get into it. So in the vise we have a Hanak H130 barbless hook. This one's at size 14 and it's a light wire hook on black nickel. Now you can go down to 18, even 20 with this fly, but I'm doing it on a 14 because I think you'll be able to see it a lot better. So I'm going to be using the Vivas GSP for my tying thread today, and first thing I'm going to do, as always with a GSP thread, is just get a tiny little bit of resin onto the shank of the hook. Now I've had a few people saying, oh, does it not discolour the fly, but I think they're maybe getting the wrong impression of how much glue I'm actually putting on. It's minuscule. I mean, it dries in almost seconds, and it's just to give that silk the purchase on the hook shank. You can put as much wax on as you like. It will not hold this silk onto the shank of the hook. You'll still get body twist. When you use the super glue, it does hold it into place much better. So the fivets I'm going to use for the tail today, I've got this old paintbrush here. Now what I would recommend is that you buy a brand new paintbrush, because if you use an old one, a lot of the tips are already damaged, as I've found with this old one I found in the garage. So when the shop's open again, I'm going to get myself a new fine brush. So what I've done is I've already cut off a few strands, and I'm going to pick the best of them, the ones that haven't got paint on, that is, and I'm just going to line them up in my fingers here. Now you can buy proper fivets, but you know, a paintbrush will give you a lifetime supply, and if you're not happy with the colour, you simply get a pro marker and colour them up. So it's not a showstopper. A paintbrush costs about $1.99, then fivets are about $3.99 a packet, so you can save yourself a bit of cash, buy a nice cape with the spare money. So to keep these together, I'm just going to give them a little lick, and I'm going to lay them up to the hook. Now the tail on this spinner is going to be quite long, so it's protruding roughly 2.5 centimeters past the bend of the hook, and I'm going to capture that over with a couple of turns of my silk. Just make sure it's sitting on top of the shank, adjust it if you have to, and then you want to bring your thread down to about 2/3 of the way up the shank. Now you can remove your waste at this point, and what I'm going to show you now is a trick that I've seen on Barry Ord Clark's YouTube channel. I'll stick a little information bar linking to his channel. He's got some lovely patterns on there, but this tip was to split the tails, and I've always just mucked about with bending them and using my tying thread to interweave, and it can be a bit of a nuisance. But what he did was he used his rat's tail. I'm going to use this little bit of fire orange I've got here, sorry, orange uni thread that I've just taken off. It's just a little bit, and before I do anything else, I'm just going to rub it through a bit of wax. Wax does help with this, it just helps manage the thread better. And what he did was he splits his fivets once they're on, and one will naturally fall into the middle, he says, like so. So I don't know how well you can see that. I'll open the vise up in a sec. So if I turn it this way, you see one's naturally fallen into the centre. So what I want to do with my little bit of thread that I've got, and you know, that's the great thing about fly tying, you never stop learning. And as soon as I seen this, I thought, my God, all them years of struggling to separate them little tails in just a simple trick. So basically you get your bit of thread, you bring it onto the bend of the hook, find that centre one, and bring it up the centre, and then you can secure that in. Now if I'd used the white thread, that'd have been fine as well, but with the orange, I'm going to be using a rusty orange for the body. It just all blends in. So what I'll do is I'll just make sure that's secured, and if I turn my vise now, you'll see I've got that nice split tail effect, and it's hardly any effort using that thread, whereas before you'd always be wrestling with it and doing your interlocking wraps, and it was a real pain. So thanks very much for that, Barry. He cites the feather bender, as I said. Pop over and have a look. Some great techniques he's got there. So I'm going to come back now to the end of the fly, and I'm going to put a little rib on this. Now a lot of people don't bother with ribs, but I quite like it. So I'm going to use the Danville's fine wire. It's a gold rib. It's very, very thin. I've already got a little piece ready to tie in here, and I'm going to just capture that in at the back end here. A few wraps. I've taken it the full length of the body, then I'm coming back down to the very bottom of my fly. Now what I don't want to do is interfering with my tail feathers now, because they're sitting just nice for me. The dubbing I'm going to be using, I'm not sure if this is the right dubbing. So this is the Stillwater Classic, but it's a very old box. So I've found some really nice dubbing in one of the compartments. Now it says it's red, but I think it's more a rusty brown mix. So I suspect I've taken out another packet and just shoved it in that box for convenience. So apologies if this is the wrong dubbing that I'm telling you it is, but it's pretty much a fiery brown colour. So what I want to do with the dubbing is get it well onto the hook. And what I mean by that is when I'm dubbing it with my fingers, I'm really putting a lot of pressure on to get it to sit flat onto the thread. You don't need very much, and obviously the smaller the fly, the less dubbing you need. Just make sure it's really tight on there, especially at the start. Okay, just put that bit of dubbing down, and then I can come round. Again, remember not to interfere with your tail, and then you can just catch that in. And I want to come up roughly about a third of the way to the hook. Now you'll see I've got a few loose fibres there. I'm simply going to come in with my snips and get rid of them. I don't want any sort of sticky out bits. Now I'm a big fan of the rough looking fly, but for this pattern I like it to be just quite flat. So I've got my wire rib, and I'm going to bring that in the opposite direction to my body, and I'm going to keep my turns about 2mm apart, and I'll bring that up all the way to where I'm going to tie in my wing. So a couple of wraps over to hold it into place. Get in front of your wire, a few wraps, and then you should be able to just twist your wire away until it breaks off. Okay, for the wing then, I'm going to use some fish on. It's the ultra dry yarn. Now I've used this quite a lot in the past in videos, and what you find when it comes off the card, it's very thick, and it's obviously far too thick for a spinner wing. So what I like to do is get my comb that I use for deer hair and just comb out a bit of the end, and then you can then pick how much you want for your spinner. And I usually find roughly about half is good. Just take half there. So I've just picked that. I'll leave the rest on the card. It saves it getting lost. If I'm doing a big run of these, I tend to cut them both off and then just put one to the side. But I'm only going to tie one today. So I've got my wing here, and initially I'm going to lay it on and get one turn of thread over. Now Getting started with the wing's the hardest thing, so if you get one turn just to hold it into place, you can then bring it round, and I like to grip the two fingers, get a couple of turns that way, and then come in behind and get a couple of turns just in the other direction. And what you want it doing is not that. You want it to sit at a 90-degree angle from the hook, and that's doing that now. So I'm fairly happy with the way that's sitting. Now obviously I don't want big massive wings like that, it doesn't look natural. So what I want to do is I'm going to cock both the wings up, and I want it approximately just over the length of the body. Now always go a bit longer than you think, because it's easy to trim a bit more away. It's difficult to super glue the other bits back on when you've not got it right. That's a joke, by the way. Don't try and super glue your things back on, it doesn't work. Okay, so I've got my wings in there now. Now before I've done that, there's a couple of things I could do with spinners. Sometimes I loop the wings up so that they sit cocked, and what that does is it makes the spinner sit right into the surface layer of the water, and often that's sometimes a really good way of getting the trout to take them. They take them really confidently. But on this occasion I'm just leaving it flat. And then to finish off, I'm going to use the same sort of rusty fiery brown dubbing I've got here, and I'm going to get that onto my thread. Again, I want it fairly compacted in there, and what this is going to do, just bring my wing out the way. I'm going to get a turn in just in behind the wing, and then I'm going to come over with one turn one way, one turn another way, and then a figure of 8 all the way. So I've now put 4 turns in to hold in that wing. Slick everything back, which is easy enough to do, and then bring your thread to the front. Now make sure you've left a little bit of room at the front there to finish off. So I'm going to get a few turns in. Now if you're of a mind to, you can colour your thread to brown, red, whichever you fancy. I'm not going to worry about that today, but I am going to put a little bit of resin onto my thread before I finish. Pull that out of the way, and then I can come in with a whip finish tool three turns, and then just lock that off. Snip away your thread. Then before I cure that, I just want to ensure the eye of the thread's clear. Sorry, the eye of the hook is clear. So with a little bit of wire, I'll just go in and clean that up, and then I can come over my UV torch and cure that. So it's a really quick fly, but when the spinner falls on, depending on the size of spinner that's coming down, these can be absolutely lethal. I recall a great couple of sessions in Slovenia fishing the spinner fall, and it was excellent. Now another little tip I can give you, if you've got any stray fibres that you want to get rid of, set of tweezers. Now I hope my wife doesn't watch this, because this is her very best tweezers and she'd have a hairy fit, but if you steal your wife's tweezers, make sure she doesn't know, and you can just pick out any fibres that are a bit stray around the fly. But there we go, that's it finished, and I'll show you again. There's the profile, got a lovely V in the tail, and that'll catch you a lot of fish. Thanks very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please think about clicking the button. It would mean a great deal to me. and I'll see you all next time.